Good afternoon. Today is, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, AA Day. I'm going to get my lights so you guys can see me. So we went on vacation for the weekend, and I did AA at Long Beach, Washington. So that was different, but it was nice. And someone reached out to me Saturday night, really late, but I'm glad that she called me and was asking questions about meeting. So, and I also need to apologize to her if she is watching. Sis, I am sorry I did not stop by before we left to come home. We were pretty tired. I wasn't feeling very good. And yeah, so I've got videos coming up for that, for our trip. Hopefully this time my camera did what I wanted it to. Unlike my phone, I went live from Long Beach for the Rod Run, and that was on Friday. And so I thought, okay, wow, it uploaded, so I'll have that as a getting the hype going about it all. It didn't upload to my phone. It didn't save on YouTube. So I don't have that footage. But either way, we still had fun. So today is AA Day, and we are here for a good purpose, and we don't want any judgment, bullying, rude comments. Please be kind to each other. You're more than welcome to chat in the chat. I put up my link, so if you want to come up and share your story, you can do that. If not, I completely understand. It took me quite a while to get to where, sorry about the chicken making the squawking noise, the dog is chewing it apart. Hey, quit eating it. Don't eat it. Sorry, it's a distraction. Hopper, no, don't pull it apart. Do not eat it. Crazy dog. Here's his chicken. He has no face. Maybe that'll keep him occupied for a minute. Anyway, so I put in the link for you to come up on panel if you'd like to share your story or ask questions. I'm more than willing to help any way I can with someone's sobriety. No. Anyway, he's trying to eat that chicken. Not to eat it. It's plastic. He doesn't like it when I tell him not to eat it. So anyway, it is a meeting day. I shared on Saturday some of my story. It felt really good to be able to share some of that with you. I hope that it helps someone to know that I have gone through the same things that you have. Um, it's not easy by any means, but it gets easier, so that's the plus part. Anyways, so let's get the meeting going. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I will be reading the steps. They're in the contents of the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. If you don't have a book, don't worry, I'm going to read it anyways. And if you want to get a book, I'm not affiliated or sponsored by them, but Amazon has them. Um, your local library has them. You can buy them online. So, yeah. Or you can go to a meeting and they might give you one. My sponsor gave me the one that I have gotten and I have given to others. So, yeah. Anyway, step one. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to the alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Yes, when you do AA long enough, you learn the steps by heart. We are reading the 12 step, or not 12 steps, sorry, the big book. I always put in the description what book we're reading and what page. And also, I try to remember to put in the name of what we are reading in the book. So this one is Alcoholics Anonymous number 3. We're on page 190. And I'm going to start off right at the top. I had a helper whom I could rely upon, who wouldn't fail me. If I could stick to him and listen, I would make it. I remember when the boys came back, I told them I have gone to this higher power and I have told him that I am willing to put his world first above everything else. I have already done it, and I am willing to do it again here in the presence of you, or I am willing to say it any place, anywhere in the world from now on and not be ashamed of it. And this certainly gave me a lot of confidence and seemed to take a lot of the burden off me. I remember telling them too that it was going to be awfully tough because I did some other things, smoked cigarettes, and played penny ant poker, and sometimes bet on horse races. And they said, "Don't you think you're having more trouble with this drinking than with anything else at the present time? Don't you believe that you are going to have all you can do to get rid of that?" "Yes," I said, reluctantly. "I probably will," they said. "Let's forget about those other things, that is, trying to eliminate them all at once and concentrate on the drink." Of course, we had talked over quite a number of the failings that I had and made a sort of an inventory, which wasn't too difficult because I had an awful lot of things wrong that were very apparent to me. Then they said, "There's one other thing. You should go out and take this program to somebody else who needs it and wants it." Of course, by this time, my business was practically non existent. I didn't have any naturally for quite a time. I wasn't too well physically either. It took me a year or a year and a half to get to feeling physically well, and was rather tough. But I soon found folks whose friendship I had once had, and I found after I had been sober for quite some little time, that these people began to act like they had in previous years before I had gotten so bad, so that I didn't pay too awful much attention to financial gains. I spent most of my time trying to get back these friendships and to make some recompense recompense toward my wife, who whom I had hurt a lot. It would be hard to eliminate or estimate how much AA has done for me. I really wanted the program and I wanted to go along with it. I noticed that the others seemed to have such a release of happiness, something that I thought a person ought to have. I was trying to find the answer. I knew there was even more, something that I hadn't got. And I remember one day a week or two after I had come out of the hospital, Bill was at my house talking to my wife and me. We were eating lunch and I had listened and I was listening and trying to find out why they had this release that they seemed to have. Bill looked across at my wife and said to her, "Henrietta, the Lord has been so wonderful to me, curling me of the curing me of this terrible disease that I just want to keep talking about it and telling people." I thought, "I think I have the answer." Bill was very, very grateful that he had been released from this terrible thing and he had given God the credit for having done it. And he's so grateful about it. He wants to tell other people about it. That sentence, "The Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me of this terrible disease that I would just to keep telling people about it," has been a sort of a golden text for AA program and for me. Of course, as time went on, I began to get my health back and began to be so. I didn't have to hide from people all the time. It's just been wonderful. I still go to meetings because I like to go. I meet the people that I like to talk to. Another reason that I go is that I'm still grateful for the good years that I've had. I'm so grateful for both the program and the people in it that I still want to go. And then, probably the most wonderful thing that I have learned from the program, I've seen this in AA Grapevine a lot of times, and I've had people say it to me personally, and I've heard people get up in meetings and say it, is this statement: I came into AA solely for the purpose of sobriety, but it has been through AA that I have found God. I feel that is about the most wonderful thing that a person can do. Yep, for sure. And then we're going to go into gratitude is action. The story of Dave B., one of the founders of AA in Canada in 1944. Believe it would be, or I believe it would be good to tell the story of my life. Doing so will give me the opportunity to remember that I must be grateful to God and to those members of Alcoholics Anonymous who knew AA before me. Telling my story reminds me that I could go back to where I was if I forget the wonderful things that have been given to me, or forget that God is the guide who keeps me on this path. In June 1924, I was 16 years old and had graduated from high school in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Some of my friends suggested that we go for a beer. I had never had beer or any other form of alcohol. I don't know why, since we always had alcohol at home. I should add that no one in my family was ever considered an alcoholic. Well, I was afraid my friends wouldn't like me if I didn't do as they did. I knew firsthand that mysterious state of people who appear to be sure of themselves but are actually eaten alive with fear inside. I had a rather strong inferiority complex. I believed I lacked what my father used to call character. So on that nice summer day in an old inn in Sherbrooke, I didn't find the courage to say no. I became an active alcoholic from that first day. When alcohol produced a very special effect in me, I was transformed. Alcohol suddenly made me into what I had always wanted to be. Hello, Lily. Alcohol became my everyday companion. At first, I considered it a friend. Later, it became a heavy load I couldn't get rid of. It turned out to be much more powerful than I was, even if for many years I could stay sober for short periods. I kept telling myself that one way or another I would get rid of alcohol. I was convinced I would find a way to stop drinking. I didn't want to acknowledge that alcohol had become so important in my life. Indeed, alcohol was giving me something I didn't want to lose. In 1934, a series of mishaps occurred because of my drinking. I had to come back from Western Canada because the bank I worked for lost confidence in me. An elevator accident cost me all of the toes of one boot and a skull fracture. I was in the hospital for months. My excessive drinking also caused a brain hemorrhage which completely paralyzed one side of my body. I probably did my first step the day I came by ambulance to Western Hospital. A night shift nurse asked me, "Mr. B, why do you drink so much? You have a wonderful wife, a bright little boy. You have no reason to drink like that. Why do you?" Being honest, for the first time, I said, "I don't know, nurse. I really don't know." That was many years before I learned about the fellowship. You might think I'd tell myself if alcohol causes so much harm, I will stop drinking. But I found countless reasons to prove to myself that alcohol had nothing to do with my misfortunes. I told myself if it was because of fate, because everyone was against me, because things weren't going well. I sometimes thought that God did not exist. I thought if this loving God exists, as they say, he would not treat me this way. God would not act like this. I felt sorry for myself a lot in those days. My family and employers were concerned about my drinking, but I had become rather arrogant. I bought in I bought a 1931 Ford with an inheritance from my grandmother, and my wife and I made a trip to Cape Cod. On the way back, we stopped at my uncle's place in New Hampshire. This uncle had taken me under his wing at the time of my mother's death, and he worried about me. Now he said to me, "Dave, if you stop drinking for a full year, I will give you the Ford Roadster I just bought." I loved that car, so I immediately promised I wouldn't drink for a whole year, and I meant it. Yet I was drinking again before we reached the Canadian border. I was powerless over alcohol. I was learning that I could do nothing to fight it off, even while I was denying the fact. On Easter weekend 1944, I found myself in a jail cell in Montreal. By now, I was drinking to escape the horrible thoughts I had whenever I was sober enough to become aware of my situation. I was drinking to avoid seeing what I had become. The job I'd had for 20 years and the new car were long gone. I had undergone 3 days in a psychiatric hospital. God knows I didn't want to drink, yet to my great despair, I always returned to the infernal merry-go-round. I'm gonna stop there. Um, Going on that merry-go-round. See, I did go on that merry-go-round once. Okay, I can't say once. Every time after I admitted that I was an alcoholic, before I got sober the first time, I too did blame God. I blamed it on everybody but myself. And you can't do that because they're not the ones telling you to drink. They're not the ones saying, drink or I'm going to disown you, or drink, I'm going to, like, not be your friend. No, that was me doing that to them. So I completely understand the struggle with the drink. It is not easy. Every day is hard. It is you have to always remind yourself that you're not that we're alcoholics, and we have to fight every day to stay sober because it only takes one drink. And I can vouch for that. It is true. That's all it took for me to go back out after I was sober for a year without AA. I didn't have somebody telling me their story so that a way I could relate to it and think, aha, But eventually I did get that aha. And you'll get the aha moment too. Um, it might come right away. It might come out later. Your aha moment in your sobriety and being in AA. So every day I would drink from the time I got up until the time I passed out. I could only go sober maybe 2 days a week. And that's sad. That is really sad. And I'm just glad that I got sober when I did, because otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Because alcohol eats you alive, and it's no joke. It truly does. And it ruins relationships and ruins your friendships. It costs you your job, costs you your most prized possessions, because when you're doing a drink and you run out of money, you're looking for something to sell. And I did that. I did that. I admit it. And just being almost 9 years sober, it's amazing. I don't have the perfect life. I'm never going to have a perfect life. I'm not rich. I don't want to be rich. I'm rich with friends. Being sober, I have good friends from my AA, from doing this AA, being part of a big fellowship of sobriety. And, you know, we still have those days where we're grouchy, you know, we still have those days where we want to give up. Believe me, I still do. It's not going to go away, but we have to learn how to get past it. And, we need to remember, because a lot of us can remember what we did when we were drinking. I know I do. I remember a lot of it because I wasn't a blackout, so I could remember things. And I think I did black out once, and that was when I got my eyebrow smacked my face on something. But anyways, but I remember those days. I remember fighting with everyone. Um, my husband, my kids, my sister, my brother-in-law, my parents. Yeah, I fought with a lot of people, and um, I don't miss those bad days because especially when I ran out of alcohol. When I ran out, I was not very nice. So, um, but I can vouch that yes, that is exactly the way it is. Is you go through all of those things. And when I first started AA, I was like, I'm not going to even do this. I don't need this. I don't want to be here. I wanted to meet my friend. That's all I went for. But because I hadn't seen him for since I was 16 years old. But what ended up happening was I went and I got a sponsor the next day. I hadn't been told anything about getting a sponsor, but I did. And the reason is because she was the third person I called. And she answered the phone. So she became my sponsor. And, that's what we need to do. And you can find a sponsor anywhere, you know. Um, all it has to be just somebody that is sober and that you trust to be able to tell them how you're feeling, things that you might be ashamed of, without worrying if they're going to go and say something about it to someone. And it's a trust thing. And with AA, I trust my sponsor. I have two sponsors, and I trust them more than anything. And I don't even talk to them every day. But I know that if I have an issue with something that I can't come out of, I will call one of them. Then I have all of you that are here or even watching the replays that give me another reason that I want to keep going and doing these meetings. It helps me knowing that I'm helping you with something that was completely free to me and it's completely free to you. So, this part right here speaks out to me. Alcohol became my everyday companion. At first, I considered it a friend. Later, it became a heavy load I couldn't get rid of. It turned out to be much more powerful than I was. Even if for many years I could stay sober for short periods, I kept telling myself that one way or another I would get rid of alcohol. It, I was convinced I would find a way to stop drinking. I didn't want to acknowledge that alcohol had become so important in my life. Indeed, alcohol was giving me something I didn't want to lose. So, when I was drinking, I had an ego, a major ego. I thought I was Queen Sheba, and I am not. And I was not thinking, you know, anything other than how I wanted to feel about myself. I had confidence, I had energy, I had all the things. And in the meantime, I'm walking around a drunk dum dum, acting like a fool. And, I don't want to go back to that ever. So finding AA was great. And I'm very proud to be this far in my journey. And I don't take one day for granted. Um, I do practice my steps every day. I don't have to practice actually, I just do them every day. And most of the time, I don't even realize it. So, yeah, it is. AA has done a lot for me and a lot for other people. So, I started doing this online meeting because it's something I'm passionate about. It is a way for my subscribers or newcomers to have a place that they can go and listen to the reading of an AA book and be completely safe to be watching it. Um, I don't require people to say anything in chat. I don't require knowing that you are here, but the chat is there for anybody that wants to be in the chat. You can leave comments, um, and you can share it out. And please subscribe and hit the bell because I do more than one meeting a week. I also do Saturday afternoons at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I really hope that this is helping people and being positive for you. So, and I will be live tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time because I am working tomorrow. So I scheduled myself for work because it's off all weekend. So I'm going to read the daily reflection and then say the serenity prayer and then go from there. So today I've been sober for 8 years, 9 months, and 28 days, or 3,223 days. I am responsible. This is uh, September 12th. For the readiness to take the full consequence of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, 87. In recovery, and through the help of Alcoholics Anonymous, I learned that the very thing I fear is my freedom. It comes from my tendency to recoil from taking responsibility for anything. I deny, I ignore, I blame, I avoid. Then one day I look, I admit, I accept the freedom, the healing, and the recovery I experience is in the looking, admitting, and accepting. I learned to say, yes, I am responsible. When I can speak those words with honesty and sincerity, then I am free. I am free. Thank you, Lily. I am free. You can be free too. And let's say the serenity prayer so you guys can enjoy the rest of your day. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there.